Good morning, students. Today we shall look at the identifiers used at various levels of IoT. So, to get started with, we'll have a look at the policy from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So, they have identified the IoT to be a three-stage system. So identification is included in their first stage. And one more thing, in today's presentation the slides are going to have more text. So wherever lot of text is there, I will not make an attempt to read everything. You can pause the video and read all of them and make notes. Okay, so this is actually a government initiative to promote IoT based solutions for India's problems, and some of you might have participated in Smart India Hackathon. Okay, that was again organized by this ministry. Okay, so today we are going to address many questions. One of them is on identifiers used for communication. So last class we looked at IP address. IP address can serve as an identifier. There are other possibilities. Mobile phones numbers can be used. MAC IDs can be used. They all belong to different levels of identification. So to get more clarity on the identifiers are actually identifying things. So things, we had a lot of sessions on things and etc. So you can pause here and revise the definition for things. So this topics has been referring to another consortium in Europe for bringing standards in IoT solutions that will be deployed in European countries. So that alliance is known as AIoTI. You will find it here, aioti.eu. So that is actually Alliance for Internet of Things Innovation in European countries. So they have a definition for identifiers in things. You can also have a look at that. Okay, so this AIoTI, apart from identification of these things, services, users, data and locations, they have got dedicated working groups, WG. They will be looking at different dimensions of IoT. So to tell you in short, let's say you are making a product in India. Before you can market it, you need to undergo a lot of certification and testing process. One among them is BIS. You might have read in papers about the BIS requirement for most of the stuffs. Government has modified it. So we make a product and apply for certification, get it BIS stamped, and only then we can send it to the market. That means there exists a framework or some policies to regulate or standardize any product that is being developed in the country and sold here. Similarly, Europe has got this alliance of Internet of Things innovation to standardize and certify the IoT solutions in Europe. So if I am in Europe and I want to market an IoT based solution from my company, I need to abide by the guidelines set by AIoT work groups. That is the takeaway message. So AIoTI is a can be viewed as a standardizing institution where every IoT project requires to stick to the guidelines and references given by AIoT. So why I am stressing this is, we have chosen AIoT as a benchmark for studying the identifiers. Okay, so identifiers should be studied with respect to a standard, otherwise we will not know which one to cover, which one is not to cover. So once we take AIoTi as a standard, we get some more clarity. That is the reason why we have chosen AIoTi working group. Then you may ask, sir, we are in India and now a lot of we are all talking about Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat and so on. And still, why are you going for European based standards? See, I would be happy to discuss Indian standards, provided I can see something standardized on the internet. If you can point out something, we will discuss that also. As long as that is not happening, we will have to stick to AIoT.eu work groups comments on standardizing IoT projects. Okay, so now let us see where exactly the identifiers comes into picture and the types of identifiers in the next slide. Now this is a typical IoT use case. Those who are building use case will be easily relate to this. So if you look at this, let us start from the left side. You have a user. He becomes a part of the system. He has got user identifier. He gets connected to web portal. There he would like to access some service by means of service and application identifier, or he may push the data to the fitness application. Let's say he is wearing a fit band. He will be pushing all his data to the one. Now the data from the web portal, they interact with the fitness service. Some data goes to the storage, and data identification in the whole data centers is done with the help of UUID, Universal User Identifiers. I am not sure whether UUID is that. You can check about that. A lot of acronyms it's difficult to memorize. So just like that, you will find a lot of identifiers starting from user identifier and all the way up to communication identifiers. So you need to pay attention to the things written in green color and its relevance and what is the meaning of that. You can pause for a moment and map this diagram to your use case and see where does your use case stand. Pause for a moment and look at the diagram and understand it. Now the formal definition for an identifier. So the stress is on uniqueness and within a specific context. It doesn't need to be a worldwide unique thing, but with respect to your use case, it is unique sufficiently enough to be identified. So read the definition. Now this slide, let us take a very small exercise here. All of you can just close your eyes and imagine that you are in our classroom. Okay, now look at the desk. Somewhere on the desk you will find a sticker, a barcode saying that Amrita 00123 table 1, something like that. Now from the classroom you go to hostel. See, traveling by mind is fast. From classroom to hostel, less than 1 nanosecond. So in hostel room, in the almirahs, table, coats, you will find Amrita ID, isn't it? So just like that, we have got lot of schemes for identifying things, which is organization-wide accepted steps. So we can list a lot of identifiers and find how they are. You might have seen identifiers on a lab computer, isn't it? So they tell you to which campus it belongs to, which Amrita campus it belongs to, in Amrita Coimbatore campus, which hostel does it belong to, in hostel which room number, which respective Bhavana numbers, everything will be there. So you can go ahead with printed numbers, barcodes, QR code, RFID, NFC tags and so on for identification. So according to AIoT high-level architecture, this is what they envisage with the identifiers and use. Okay, so user will have user identifier and you have service identifier and so on. So this diagram, you sit with this and understand what are the services in your system, because in the review 3 that's going to happen in October, there will be some weightage on the services and identifiers. So your diagrams should show the services and identifiers. Okay. So wherever some examples or diagrams are shown in the discussion, you have to relate it to your use case and see whether there is a mapping. It should map. If it is not, you are not able to map, means there is something going wrong with your use case design. Okay. Now let us see the work groups of AIoTI, Alliance of Internet of Things Innovation in Europe. So they have got verticals and horizontals. Verticals are specifics, that is how the usual terminology, and horizontals are the common things which applies to everything. Okay, for example, your PGs will be like verticals and UG will be horizontal, because PG you focus on a certain aspect, whereas UG is going to be a generic introduction to everything. Okay, so in verticals we have everything covered up, right from smart building and all the way to smart living environment for aging well. Okay, so what you have to do is spend a moment on this slide, pause the video and look at all the WGs and their function in the verticals. In the horizontal we have got research, innovation, in ecosystem, standardization, policies, they are all common, and then you have got small to medium enterprise interest, that is known as SME. That also has to be taken care, SME, and then distributed ledger should be there. For ledger technology, you might have heard with connection with the blockchain. So that is actually a security aspect. It covers everything for security related accounting and auditing. So next few slides are simply stories about each working group that I am not going to read. You can read, pause the slide and read. You may get some questions on the quiz that is coming up. Okay, smart cities, smart energy and so on. Now let us straight away go to the blockchain is in smart ledger of the horizontal. You can see whether how it can be implemented. Now this is ledgering with compliance. You need see wherever security is there, you need to show compliance to all other data protection standards. The GDPR is coming up in the later slides. Now let us so this is actually related to data protection. See, you are using a wearable and even your heartbeat and location, everything which is personal information is going to the cloud. So how safe it is? This has been governed by this GDPR.EU policies. And here also, if you could show me a similar policy framed by Government of India, I would be happy to discuss and study. Now coming to the technical aspect, classification of identifiers. What are the different classifications of identifiers? So things identifier, application service identifier. Okay, I'm not reading it out. So we have got around 3 plus 3, 6 plus 1, 7 identifiers about which we need to study and make sure that all these identifiers are available or you can see in your use case as well. I repeat, when we ask give some examples for location identifier from your use case, you must be able to answer. Now the detailed discussion on the classification of identifiers will happen in the next video.